Welcome to another episode of the Office Altering Hire and Empower with Molly McGrath podcast. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. If you're a first-time listener, hopefully you'll become a long-time listener. As always, I'm your show host, Molly McGrath, founder of Hiring and Empowering Solutions and creator of this revolutionary podcast. You can check us out at hiringandempowering.com. All right, listen up, my EP friends, my estate planners, my probaters, my trust admin folks. I'm super excited today. We are having a conversation about maximizing profitability in trust funding, probate, and trust admin. And I'm delighted. I spoke in December at a summit for a estate planning summit in December. And there's a bunch of experts in the estate planning space. And I popped into the Facebook Live group where they're speaking and I'm like, whoa, someone's talking about probate and trust admin. I'm in because I'm always on the hunt for finding ways to help my law firms with maximizing their efficiency with their support team on this. And I saw a co-founder and COO of Trustate. And I'm so excited to have Tara Faquir. Did I say it right? Faquir?
Yeah, pretty close. Faquir.
Faquir. Yes. There. I saw your event and I immediately found you on LinkedIn. I immediately found you on Facebook and private messaged you. I'm like, we need to talk. We need to talk because, and I can't wait for you to just dive in and share a little bit about why you do, what you do, and how you help law firms with this. But this is a bane of the existence. So many times people will say, well, we do estate planning, but we don't do funding, or we do estate planning, but we do not handle probate and trust admin because it's such a paperwork nightmare. We're constantly chasing clients down for information. They don't know what accounts they have. They come in with the shoebox. They have information and documents everywhere. And you're like, no, it doesn't have to be this way. So tell our listeners a little bit about you, why you do what you do and what you do.
Yeah, thanks, Molly. I'm so excited to be here and chat about this topic. It's definitely the topic that people don't really like to talk about, so I'm certainly excited to dive into that. But as you mentioned, my name is Tara. I'm co-founder and COO at Trustate. And essentially in July of 2020, we embarked on the journey to change, the conversation around all of the tedious tasks that come with administration, trust funding, and we essentially built software that offloads this work that no one wants to do, from the attorneys, from their support staff, and our software completes it for them. So you're able to bring administration and trust funding into your practice without all of the the tedious nature that comes along with it. So we'll get more into that, but at a high level, we have really automated this process and streamlined it and make it a lot more palatable for people to think about.
Yes. And many law firms are realizing right now that they do need to have a funding aspect to properly fund the client's trust, et cetera. They know it's necessary. They want to do it, but the problem is finding people that understand this area of law, training them. And, you and I chatted about this and you talked a lot about this at the summit. It's chasing down information from the client, and it's overwhelming for the client. It's overwhelming for the funding coordinator. And tell us a little bit about how you streamline that. So you're not a full back office. So they can't say, okay, great, we're doing funding and all we need is Trustate. We still need a legal admin to support with the process, correct?
Yeah, and that's the beauty of what we do and why it's important that we do it the way we do, because we are not here to replace the legal expertise and legal guidance that those admins and the attorneys are giving their clients. That's what they went to law school for, and that's what they are trained for, is to really be able to work through, the legal aspects of whatever it is, whether it's the plan, the trust funding, or the administration. What our software does is support all of the tasks, the administrative tasks that go along with it. So for instance, an attorney works with a husband and wife, a couple, and they create a wonderful estate plan. In that estate plan, there's a trust. That attorney's expertise is used for the plan. The next step in that process is that trust has to be funded in order for, all that work that they did to be valid, should and when that person pass away. That's where we can step in. That attorney now knows that they can use Trustate to retitle the bank accounts into the trust, to retitle the investment accounts into the trust. They now don't have to worry that all the work they just did wasn't properly funded because the client didn't know what to do. And that client can have peace of mind for the same reason. Everything is done for them. So the attorney and their admin team is integral to the process because they're the ones creating the plans or working through the administration. What we do, we're behind the scenes. They're using our software to automate the tasks that go along with it to really bring that plan and that administration to completion.
I love that. And so the part that really excited me was talk about when finding out what assets the clients have and just how streamlined and extraordinary your software is in this department of information gathering.
Yes, so that's something that we're super excited about, and I know our users are. I mean, it's the wow moment of our software. So whether you have a planning client and you need them to produce some information for you from a financial standpoint, of course, or you are working through an administration, there's a decedent and the family member doesn't know what that person owns or owes, or they have somewhat of an idea, but is that really everything? We actually went out and formed partnerships with global data providers. We're using legal documentation and the consent of the client on the living side, and the consent of that fiduciary on the administration side. Truly at the click of the button, you will now have access as the professional to name and alias history, to property history, to liabilities, showing you the balances, the account numbers. We also show suspected bank accounts. So all the question marks that you have throughout the process, you no longer have. On the planning side with your living clients, it's a great way to say, hey, I'm going to save you the hassle of having to collect all this information and send it over to me. I'm going to do a quick search with your consent, of course. I'm going to present this to you, and then let's fill in the holes, right? Because they might have an investment account or outright stock that our providers would not pull. There's not a data source out there for that yet. And then on the decedent side, the same thing. You're giving that family member that peace of mind that, okay, there's not all those, medical bills and collections that I was concerned about. So we really feel and see that data is such an important component to both sides, whether it's planning or administration, because with anything in life, if you have good data, you can have a good plan on top of it. So whether that plan is creating the estate plan for, as the attorney and starting with a good foundation of information, or outlining the steps that need to be taken in administration, it all starts with quality data.
So help me out, like attorneys, listen up, team members, listen up that are listening to this podcast. Am I understanding this correctly when we're talking about truly maximizing profitability? Client comes in, whether it's alive and well or after death, whether it's funding, probate, trust administration, wherever they are on their planning journey, they could come in and sit down with the client and take all the stress off of the law firm team, because the biggest breakdown in every law firm and what is killing profitability and killing the team is the data information gathering. So the client gets this intake form, if you will, to enter all their assets. They get overwhelmed by it. are you saying we can eliminate that step in the process? They could actually come in, be fully, wholly present with the attorney, allow for the attorney to counsel them and really be present for them with their compassion-driven counsel. And then all we need is their consent, and we can do all that information gathering and get all the assets.
So yes and no. It's a start, right? So because of the way data works and privacy works as far as financial information, not our tool or any other tool can capture everything. What our tool does, it's a really great starting point. So the way that we see it on the planning side and the way that our attorneys are using it is it's stop one, right? So they're running this search. They're saying, hey, clients, I know that this is going to be a pain for you to put together. Let me do a quick search. Here's what I have. And then those clients are just saying, yep, this is good. This is good. And we know it's good because we can see the, the current dates and whatnot. And then they can say, but there's also this 401k that I have from 2 jobs ago. Those are the, the areas where that attorney is showing value, because it really saved them all that work of, the main components of the financials. It's the things that maybe, we couldn't get, and then that, another data provider couldn't get. On the decedent side, it's a huge time saver because there isn't that person there to say, yes, I have a Home Depot card, or, yeah, I happen to own a piece of land in Utah because I bought it with a friend 27 years ago. Those conversations obviously can't happen. That person has passed. So this search is a game changer for the decedent and their family, because the only other way to really capture this information is, quite frankly, to dig through some drawers, wait by the mailbox to see maybe what statements come in, if there's a safe or a vault that they have access to, but it's piecemeal, so you're not getting it in one dashboard like we present. So that's one search. We also have other searches too. We have a life insurance search that you can use for a decedent. We also have a much larger bank account discovery search where we have relationships with over 112 financial institutions, including Schwab's, Fidelity, E-Trade. So not just your traditional banks, where we can see if a decedent had an account there. So we really try to cover all bases, but there are still, just to be fully transparent, there are still things that, that might miss. And if it, like I said, an outright stop, like that's something that someone would have to know about or identify.
Wow. Talk about maximizing efficiency, effectiveness, time savers, energy saver, emotional saver, and the profitability piece of that, because I love it on the pre-planning side with people that are alive and well, that you can 70, 80% it, right? And a lot of times the attorney gets very anxious about, they want that information prior to the client coming in, because they feel like they need that before they can give proper counsel. Is it base planning? Is it asset protection, based on their wealth, for lack of a better term? And a lot of times the client is very nervous about that, because gathering everything, pulling it out of drawers and safes and lock boxes and all that, right? So I could just see, in a perfect world, where the intake coordinator, when they're setting up the initial consultation with the attorney, whether it's for pre-planning, whether it's for probate, whether it's for trust administration, and they went to another attorney or what have you, you can do that search, and the attorney can have a pretty decent snapshot of the persona of the client.
Absolutely. And I, from personal experience, obviously I'm biased because, I'm obviously very much involved in Trustate, but not too long ago, my husband and I did a new estate plan, and attorney was great relationship. And she was like, hey, I need you to input your financial information. We dragged our feet.
Yes.
We just did. And it wasn't a reason why. It was just like, oh, we got to do that thing. We got to do the thing over dinner. Oh, we forgot to do that thing. And then we're like, okay, we just have to do it. Now, at the time, this particular tool wasn't live, because obviously I would have just used it But just knowing how we dragged our feet, and we very much know our financials. It wasn't something where we had to like go through folders, like we know them, but it was just the fact that we needed to sit down and do it. And when I tell you it took us months for no reason than just there's other things that are at the top of your list. So for an attorney who, they want to drive their business forward and they want to be able to nurture these new relationships and show their value, one of the first steps is, hey, client, I need you to do this. And it's homework, and no one likes homework, So on the pre-planning side, it really is helpful to those attorneys because they're like, hey, I will need your input for this, and we're going to go over this, but we're going to do it together. And I think it really shortens the cycle between that person who's a prospect really getting into, seeing the value that attorney is providing and kind of being embraced by them through the process, because it's way too easy to drag your feet as it stands today.
So from maximizing profitability, just to bring this really drive the point home, attorneys, let's talk about just the return on investment and the profitability of your role alone as a business owner, as the attorney, as an entrepreneur. So you're giving the client homework and they're dragging their feet. And to your point, Tara, nobody's intentionally doing it. There's nothing you're avoiding. You know where your finances are. It's just work, and everything else in life takes priority for it. Number one. So right there, you're already teeing the client up. You're like, great, we're going to run your search. Through that, we're going to get the information before you even come in. Then they're going to have a little bit of homework. Pay attention to your statements between now and our next meeting. Put them in a shoebox, put them in this beautiful branded folder I'm going to give to you. Just bring it in, see what else we missed, what have you throughout the process. Now they're just paying attention like, oh, it's not homework. I'm not going on a witch hunt for information and folders. Now I just have this beautifully branded folder next to the coffee pot that I'm just throwing the mail in every time. My attorney said, just do that. I'm going to bring this to the meeting. We're just going to fact check and see what we possibly missed. So attorneys, you're taking the stress off your clients. A confused mind says no, an overwhelmed mind does nothing and they freeze. And so you're already maximizing your profitability there. Now let's talk about your client service coordinator, intake coordinator, legal assistant, people at the front desk. Let's talk about that, especially if you're a small firm and you maybe have 1 or 2 or 3 employees, or you have part-time people or what have you. Some of you that are at the infancy stage of your business and you're growing and you're getting, I know there's a lot of you that listen to this podcast from 2-Hour Lifestyle Lawyer, where you really want to have a work-life balance and you have part-time VA or what have you. You're slashing their time for the consistent follow-up, and clients will, I guarantee, I know this because I've tracked it, your cancellations and your reschedules and your no-shows will disappear. Because the reason people cancel or reschedule because they don't want to show up without their homework done. And they're not doing their homework because, as Tara said, we're busy human beings. And it just, even if you know exactly where it is, it becomes overwhelming and daunting, right?
Absolutely. And if you flip to the administration side, the same thing goes, right? So you have this executor who is overwhelmed. They just
grieving. They're grieving.
Yeah. And they have work that they have to do. One of them being discovering this information. So obviously that's a huge component of it. But then there's all just these other tasks. And that's where the attorney can step in and say, I got you. I'm going to help you through this. I'm going to, the client doesn't know that you're using Trustate, but you as the attorney know that you can pick and choose the tasks you need assistance with. It's now not eating into your support team's bandwidth. You're doing it all through software. Our team of estate concierges are reviewing everything. You're getting your eyes on it as the attorney to review and file and do whatever you need to do from there. But you, again, like you're shortening the cycle of whether it's planning or administration, because you're taking back control of the process. And I think that's so important, as you said, Molly, to really to hone in on, because process is where things, where things suffer, right? The longer something hangs out there, the less people think it's important. you can now condense that, and you can do it in a way where your team is not overwhelmed. We have hundreds and hundreds of law firms that are on our platform, and 100% of the law firms using our tools consistently have reported increased bandwidth within their team, because the
Yes.
tedious nature of this no longer exists, and you're able to run through things in a much more systematized approach. So, it's about controlling the controllables where you can, and hopefully our software and our systems allow you to do that.
Yeah, you just triggered something for me, especially on the trust administration side. I have people who tell me, like, what's the average life cycle of your trust admin case? They're like, oh, about 24 months. I'm like, what? What?
Mhm.
And a big portion of it, I mean, what are you seeing in regards to that?
So the life cycle of an administration still varies, because there's so many other institutions that are part of the
Yes.
process. But what I can say that we know and what we see is, when a task comes through our system, it is reviewed and started on within 24 hours. That attorney is getting a response within 24 hours of, here's the next step I need you to take. And then usually there's another institution involved. So let's, pick on American Express, for instance. There's a credit card that needs to be closed out on behalf of the decedent. Amex is now getting that and all the information they need within days. Now Amex needs to review it and get that back to us, but that's off the plate of the attorney, of their team, and we've now pushed it out as well. So while the life cycle can still be what it can be, because you are waiting on institutions, it goes back to what I just mentioned about, we're controlling the controllable. So the things we can get out very quickly within 24 hours, we're doing. And then that way the attorney can say, you know what, that's off my list. And now, better yet, my team doesn't have to follow up on it, because I put that through Trustate's system, and they're responsible for, getting me the completed task in whatever manner that may be. So it's just about, really being systematized, being efficient. I wish I could say that, hey, it was 24 months and now it's 4, but it's really because there's other institutions and other things that play. There's not necessarily, the shrinking of the life cycle, but it's all the work that you're typically doing in-house, you don't have to do.
Oh, I bet you. I would love for you to start tracking it and build a case study out of this, because I know for a fact when you start tracking this, you'll see, because yes, we're at the mercy of the financial institutions.
Mhm.
However, you just said something that was so critical and key that I see every day when I'm working on onboarding and training and empowering the staff members, the front of the house, if you will. To your point, they have to follow up they have to gather all the information, and especially if you have a part-timer, they're constantly playing catch up. So a lot of times when we're like, what's going on with this Smith estate or what have you, and we look in the file or we look in the matter or we look what have you, it's on us to follow up, because we did not have that click of the button for the easy part of it. So now our conversations with the clients are more so filled with compassion and empathy and holding their hand versus beating them up for not getting information to us.
Exactly. I will say that, you can now control that, not control the relationship, but really nurture that relationship and be, the one who is there to, better facilitate the conversations, because we are doing all that tedious work. One estate, I mean, there's several, but one estate that I can mention was about a $5.5 million estate that, using our system, the attorney used the system, was completed in just under 5 months. So that was, so we do see those, but I just wanted to be clear that, there's no guarantee that
Yes.
I certainly can't speed up, other institutions.
Right. But it does when we're talking about maximizing profitability while incorporating and integrating and coupling and aligning technology, where you do not have to have your client service director, coordinator, legal admin, funding coordinator, what have you, spend their entire time babysitting information, because you're handling that from a place of automation and what have you, and allows for them to focus on serving more clients. A lot of times I'll hear from team members like, no more. We can't take on any more probate or trust administration, by and large, that side of the practice, because it overwhelms. In my experience, probate, trust administration, or what have you, when kept in-house and not coupled with the technology and the automation that you're speaking of, you only have so much capacity to be able to manage all that data, and that information is so human dependent. And that's why the team is constantly pushing back and resisting more of that work. And guys and gals, we all know, if you're in the area of estate planning, you do not want to be turning away probate and trust admin work because of that reason, because we can't keep up with it. We can't handle it. You want to lean on someone like Trustate and bring them into your fold, into your team. Because what I love, Tara, is that your pricing model is not a monthly retainer, right?
No, so we do have a new model coming out, which I'll speak to in just a moment, but essentially the model will stay the same, where it's a la carte. You pick and choose the assistance you need. So if you need us to go ahead and notify the credit bureaus of the passing, it's, X amount, I think it's $20 or $24. So you can see that the fees are small. Even to do that search that we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, that's $99. And again, you pick and choose.
That's it.
So that's it. So it really makes it affordable for any size law firm to be able to use software and technology to better assist their clients. And one of the things I just wanted to mention while you were talking about, you don't want to turn this work away. One of the other reasons you don't want to turn this work away is because if you work through an administration and you do it in a way that really nurtures the client and they feel comforted and heard through this process, because it's very complex emotionally for them. If you can show your value, you can show them your expertise. Our software allows you to do that, because you can be the hero with, hey, we did this, this, and this, and here are things I can advise you on. They tell the other family members who are essentially part of this administration what a good job you're doing. And that's your opportunity to revise their estate plans, because if there's inheritance or other assets that are being transferred to them, that's a wonderful time to talk about their estate planning needs. And people are also in the mindset of, maybe I need to get my act together. I haven't done an estate plan, but I saw what just happened, in this situation. And my goodness, if that person didn't have a plan, or maybe they didn't and they saw, the repercussions there, like that's your time to really, work with them, show your value, and show how you can make sure for them and their family members that, their plan is solid going forward. So it really does lend to more business. If you're turning it away, you don't have that opportunity to showcase your value up on all fronts. So that's just something to think about.
And quickly, I want to pick real quick on what you just said, because you said so much there for showcasing your value. Also, your clients are going to talk to their friends, families, what have you, about how easy you made that process, because a lot of times people don't even get on the journey in regards to it, whether it's probate, trust admin, what have you, because they are either shameful that they don't know what they have, or they think that they don't have enough assets to warrant this planning. And so when they communicate that, listen, just go meet with the attorney. You don't have to get all your information together. They'll do it all for you, right? And they take that pressure, and that's a difference maker for you, that your competition is not providing that value for them.
Absolutely. It's just so important. And that's one of the things we talk about. We work with so many different law firms, and a lot of them are doing both, but there's a lot that are doing either or. It's planning or administration. And I know that it's because of bandwidth that you can only do so much, but that's where our technology can help you start to really create the whole picture for, you and your clients. And a lot of our attorneys who are new to administration are just finding that they're learning so much about administration, and actually makes for them to be a better planner because they're thinking about the things like that do come up that maybe they just weren't thinking about before. So, just from your own personal growth, administration, although we know it's tedious and no one wants to get involved in it, it really does make you a great planner because you see all the things that can, and at some point will happen.
Yes. Tara, what makes you so passionate about estate planning and probate and trust administration?
Yeah, so we joke, my business partner and I, that this is certainly never an area I thought I would be in. I did not go to law school, so I'm often the only non-lawyer in a room, but I know a lot about it to the point where we're giving CLEs and whatnot. So it's something that from a personal standpoint, I had to deal with twice when my grandparents passed away, and just seeing all the work that was involved, it's a lot, and you're typically not prepared for it. I did not have the legal expertise that my business partner Leah has, and as a typical person who goes through an administration, you're only doing this hopefully once or twice in your life. So as a layperson, you're not thinking about it from that systematized approach. And you're not thinking about like, well, how could this be better, right? You're just like, oh, just get me through this. Her, Leah on her side, she was doing this constantly. So she's the lawyer. She's realizing that, gosh, like there should be a better way. But lo and behold, there wasn't a better way. So, it really got her wheels turning about, I think this is something that technology could back. And obviously, she was correct. What makes me passionate about it is building products, and I'm very much a fan of efficiency. So, the more efficient we can make something, the better. And again, I didn't sit in the seat of the lawyer, but having been the person, the end client, knowing how difficult it was, anything we can do to make a lawyer's life easier so they in turn can make their client's life easier is something that I'm 100% for and 100% passionate about, because it's a tough time in general. So like, let's make something about what just happened, a loss that they just, experienced, a little bit easier for people.
Oh, wow. I love that you have that personal story. I do as well. And so for estate planning attorneys listening to this, I know many of you have podcasts. Tara might be a great guest to bring on your podcast to tell her story, her journey that she went through and what brought her to this place of creating this automation for you, for your clients. So
yeah,
great,
I mean, I certainly wouldn't have come to it on my own, that's for sure. And that's where having somebody like Leah, who is the expert in trust and estates administration, and understanding that like we can make this better for lawyers is needed.
Yes. And the client and the team. Oh my goodness. The team listeners, bring this to your attorney and say, we must hop on a call with Tara. So Tara, tell our listeners how they can find you and learn more about if this is the right fit for their practice.
Absolutely. So of course you can visit our website. It's www.trustate.com, and that's TRUSTATE.com. But you certainly can email me personally, and that's just Tara, TARA @trustate.com.
And I'll put all of this in the show notes for our listeners. Tara, thank you for being a legal leader, leading legal leaders. I'm so grateful to have you on today. Again, listeners, we'll put all the Tara's contact information in the show notes. It'll be posted on the website, all the channels. And please share this with your attorney friends and get the information out there to support you with maximizing profitability and efficiency in your probate, trust administration, and pre-planning law firm.
Great.
Thank you.
So much.
Until next time, we've reached the end of yet another episode of the Hire and Empower with Molly McGrath podcast, where dream teams of entrepreneurs in an entrepreneur's world really do come true. Listen, whether you're a business owner, employee, executive, or hiring manager, we fully understand hiring, onboarding, and leadership is expensive, exhausting, often overwhelming, and absolutely time-consuming for the already taxed professional. Well, we have your back on all fronts. For 25 years and counting, we have transformed over 4,000 law firm teams into the most efficient, resourceful, and profitable asset of your business. Check out our Smart Hire solution, our employee leadership program, and the 66-day law firm turnaround at hiringandempowering.com.